We have our audience in the Philippines about to migrate to the States. We have audience in the Philippines who are wanting to invest in real estate in the States.
Yes.
And then we have our audience here in the States looking to buy a house for the first time. The interest rate, because a lot of people will say, buy now, interest rates are low. Buy now, or don't buy now, interest rates are high. But you'll hear it, people will say, the best time to buy a house is always now.
You know, it always depends on how you look at your income. Okay. If you're renting, you have no tax shelter. Everything you pay for the rent goes to the trash. You have no protection. You have no tax shelter. If ever you need money later on, you don't have a bank. You have no house. You put your money, what you work for every month. You pay the mortgage. That mortgage is your own bank. So anytime you want to open a business, you can borrow from it. It's a win-win situation.
So why are people like Grant Cardone saying, don't buy a house if you're going to live in it because it's not a good investment?
You know, the problem is this. If you have a big family and you have kids, you have grandkids, you want them to have a good place. Right? And if you're doing investment, you can do investment, but you have to start with your family. How will you learn to invest if you don't buy your own? That's my only view on that. You cannot just invest not knowing where you're putting your money, and the location. Location is very important. But
what if you can't afford the location that you want?
For example, if you are like me, I cannot afford Beverly Hills.
I'm going to the reason why we're talking this way, guys, I'm really just going to throw all these questions.
Yes.
All these questions at you. You're supposed to answer all of these questions.
Yes, of course.
Go. What if I can't afford the location I want?
Well, for example, me, I want to live in Pacific Palisades
or Malibu.
But I cannot afford that, right? But if you start like a stepping stone and you know you're going to make money on this house, little by little, you don't know later on you're in your dream location.
Oh, so your first house may not be your dream house.
It's not your dream house. It's your step. I call it your stepping stone. Once you get into the mortgage and you understand the process of it, you will understand, oh, it's my investment too. It's an investment too. I don't believe that it's not your investment, because what money you put there, later on you can borrow it. And you don't need to borrow if you don't need it, but if you want to sell it and then buy a bigger house,
there might be equity.
There will always be equity in LA.
Be equity in LA. Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back to interest rate.
Interest rate, I tell you, you date the rates, you marry the house.
Oh, okay. Explain that. That's a nice.
You marry the house, you date the rate, because the interest rate, you can always refinance. Yes, you can always refinance, and then you can always, but if you really, really like this house, but the rate is 6%, right? You bought the house. After you bought the house, the interest rate went down to 4.99. You will refinance.
You know what? Okay, on that note, is it better to buy at a higher interest rate as opposed to a lower interest rate? And the reason why I ask this is because based on what you just said, if I buy a house at a high interest rate, I will have less competition on the house, because the house will probably be at fair market value, whatever that means.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Plus the fact that I still have that play, the interest rate can go low, which means it'll increase my chances to refinance, as opposed to getting a house at probably 3% or 2.9%.
Yeah.
And then there's no more room for it to
go down.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense. But for example, you have a 3% interest, but it's only good for 10 years.
Oh. So it's not fixed for
it's
like 20
fixed.
or 30?
No, there's no such
thing.
No such thing, because the 3% started from when it crashed from the loan mortgage.
So is that still an arm?
it's still an arm, but
Adjustable
an arm
rate
like
mortgage to-
5%, and also the loan that you didn't pay before,
Yeah.
it will be added later on the years that you need to. If it's 30 years, it will become 32, 33. So it's the loan is not really a problem.
What's the problem normally?
The problem normally is
The down payment? No.
no, the interest rate
Is always
the problem. Okay, but now there's a lot of grants that you can use to buy down your interest rate. You have to take advantage.
Time
of
out. This
that.
conversation that we're having, are people going to be able to, if I put the link in the description, are they going to be able to reach you?
Yeah, anytime.
Okay, good. Okay, let's talk about that grant, talk about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
the grant is really the one that I'm offering to my first-time home buyers, because the $20,000 is given to you. You don't need to pay it. You can use it to lower down your interest rate, buy it down, or you can use it for closing cost or anything that needs to be repaired in the house. So that you don't need to pay for that.
That's existing right now.
Right now.
November of 2024.
2024. It's still available, but these funds will run out.
How do you qualify?
You have to qualify your
How?
income. You have to call me. You have to call me first.
I love it.
That's the first step.
Okay.
Visit ABBAeServices.com for fast medical transcription service. This podcast episode is brought to you by AB Music Creative.